If you're feeling stuck, in a rut, or unmotivated, and you really want to change your life, you don't really have to go through great lengths to do those drastic, extreme challenges. You just need to do little things over a long enough period of time to completely transform your life forever. And in this video, I'll be sharing with you 7 little changes that, if applied, can transform your life. And let's get to the video. The 80-20 rule, also known as the Pareto principle. Now, this principle basically says that 80% of the results will come from 20% of the inputs. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how does this apply to me? In real life, it's going to look something like this. You most probably wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time, and you hang out with 20% of your friends 80% of the time. And if you're a student, you've probably noticed that 80% of the questions come out from only 20% of the study material. At this point, I think you probably realize how important this rule actually is. Now, how do you apply it into your life? Now, personally, how I applied this in my life was that I really sat down to think about the 20% of activities that I do that give me the most joy. And I discovered that hanging out with friends, going for a walk, listening to podcasts, those are the activities in my day that give me the most fulfillment. While in medical school, before I study, I actually take my time to analyze 20% of topics that will actually yield 80% of the results. Now, why this little change is so important is because if you're in the habit of thinking about the 20% of inputs that will give you 80% of the results you're looking for, you actually tend to save a lot more time because you will not spend most of your time wasted on 80% that only give 20% of the results. Now, the next small change is place your alarm far away from your bed. Now, if you're like me and you are in the habit of hitting the snooze button, thinking that you're only going to spend 5 minutes, and when everything is said and done, you have quite literally spent almost 30 minutes still in bed, don't judge. But this little hack is going to quite literally transform your productivity. Now, this is because when you place your phone or your alarm or walking distance away from your bed, it actually forces you to get your body moving, which actually helps to make your mind more alert and prevents you from going back to bed again. This little habit of actually waking up when you actually plan to wake up and not like 30 minutes after can work wonders for your productivity, because you actually start the things you need to start on time and also finish on time to do other things that are actually important to you and not scramble around trying to make up for lost time.
And guys, if you're getting a ton of value from this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. Now let's continue.
Cleaned for 5 minutes. If you're like me and you're also in the habit of not putting your books away immediately you finish using them, or you have clothes that you wore when you came back and you look for a little corner of your room and just stack the clothes instead of putting them like in the drawers or in the wardrobe, and you wait until it gets to a point where you cannot really stand looking at the pile again before you actually take it away. Now, if you have this problem, those little clutters of clothes or books can actually lead to many distractions when you are focused on something important. Because while you're working, you kind of have this deep uneasiness that, oh my god, like there's something disorganized like right next to me, and I don't know about you, but that's a bit distracting sometimes. So how do you actually tackle this? A good way to go about this is right before you start working, you set a timer for 5 minutes and you clean. You would be surprised the amount of work you actually get done in just 5 minutes. And when you're done, you have a clean environment to work, and avoid those little distractions that would distract you when you actually want to do deep work. Focus on systems, not goals. There's a really interesting quote from James Clear which goes like this: you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Say I have an exam and I have the goal to score at least 85 to 90% in that exam, and my normal day-to-day activities hasn't really changed that much. Anytime I come back from class, I rarely open my books. I just go straight to that Netflix series I'm watching, and I literally spend my time scrolling on Instagram or doing something that aside from reading until it's time for bed, and I sleep and wake up and start the next day with the same routine. We can both agree that the time of the exam will come, and unless a miracle happens, it's going to be almost impossible for me to score 90% in that exam unless you are some kind of genius. But if I decide to set the goal and I decide that every single day I'm going to study for at least 3 to 4 hours on a topic that is relevant to that exam, and create a study plan of a list of things that I need to cover for that exam, we can both agree that the odds of me actually scoring at least an 80% increases substantially compared to the former case. Having goals are important, but focusing on your systems is importanter, if that's the word, because if you get your systems right, your goals will fall in place. Use the 5-second rule. This is actually a hack to cure almost any kind of procrastination, and it basically works like this. When you do not feel like doing the dishes, when you do not feel like studying or even getting out of bed, what you can do is you can basically just count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just launch yourself like a rocket and go and do the thing. Now, this might actually sound a bit silly, but there's actually a deep psychology behind this, and I actually made a video that actually went in depth explaining how the psychology of this countdown actually works. And if you're interested in this, I'm actually going to find a video somewhere on the top of your screen right now. If you actually apply this well, you can literally transform yourself from a procrastinator to an action-oriented person in the span of 5 seconds. Now, the next change is practice saying no. There's actually one word that is the key to mastering productivity, and that is the art of saying no. I actually find it interesting sometimes when people say they don't have time for starting that new hobby, they don't have time to learn that new skill, they don't have time to engage in that life-changing project. While in fact, they actually do have all the time in the world if they actually say no to the stuff they're currently doing. The truth is that you're probably really busy as your life is right now. There are 1,001 things that can actually take up your 24 hours if you let it. And if you're actually trying to wait for the right moment where you're actually going to get enough time to do the things that are really important to you, you are probably going to wait a really, really long time, or you can just start saying no and get to it as soon as possible. A lot of people and things will actually try to take your time, but if you do not stand your ground by saying no, you might actually find yourself doing a lot of things but not really going anywhere in the direction that you actually want to move in. Now, if you're a people pleaser like me and you find saying no a bit difficult, you can actually practice saying no in your mind. Now, what I like to do is that I like to create scenarios and I just sit down with myself and just say, no, let's go out for a party tonight. No. But in my head. Now, what I discovered was that the more I practice saying no in my head, the easier it actually got saying no in real life. Now, I'm not saying be a complete a-hole or something, but what I'm actually saying is that you should actually learn how to value your time more so you can create boundaries from things that you know that are unimportant and do not really lead you to where you want to go. But because you are so much of a people pleaser, you actually tend to say yes to things that you do not really want to say yes to. Now, the next change is learn to put your phone on silent. Now, this might be one of those simple things that might look simple on the surface, but has really deep, colossal repercussions. Why do I say this? Now, this is because putting your phone on silent actually reduces the rate at which you're actually going to get distracted. I mean, it's not rocket science. Now, you're probably wondering what is so bad about getting a little distraction here and there from a notification or something. Now, why it is so important that you reduce the rate of your distractions is because there is something called the context switching penalty. Now, this is basically the time spent in getting your brain back to your initial level of focus before you got distracted. Now, some people it could take 10 minutes, some people 15 minutes, some 20 minutes. But the thing is that time in which you're trying to get your mind back to your initial level of focus, your level of efficiency in that task would drastically reduce from like 100 to like 25%. And you'll discover that a task that would normally take you 2 hours or an hour 30 minutes would actually inflate itself to taking you 3 hours because of a lot of distractions along the way while completing that task, which then led to a lot of context switching penalties. The more you reduce your context switching penalties, the more time you will spend in your focus state, which automatically translates to less time being spent on that task. And guys, if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. It helps with the algorithm. And guys, if you have questions or you have contributions, please don't be afraid to use the comment section. I really want to see what you think about these things. And like always, remember to always keep it real.